Cation, Laurie Kilmartin. Jackie Cation, Laurie Kilmartin. It's the Jackie and Laurie Show. The Jackie and Laurie Show. It's the Jackie and Laurie Show. The Jackie and Laurie Show.
Oh, you ready?
I'm ready.
You're about to sneeze. I didn't want to interrupt.
Thank you. Thank you for taking that time.
Oh, no. I see it in your eyes. You
Right.
do have a little bit of a cold.
Here's your trinket.
Oh, no. What is it? Is it a
pen.
breadstick? Oh, it's a pen.
It's a pen that's shaped like a baguette.
Oh, hey. This I can return to you another day. Awesome. Thank you.
It made me laugh. It's a pen shaped like a baguette. It'll never be real bread. And feel free to buy that album, everybody. Maybe my second to last.
You know what?
First.
That reminds me. Okay.
Yeah.
You flew 14 hours today.
Yeah.
I flew 6 hours today.
He flew
4 hours. So we all came here. We're all bone tired.
Yep.
And we're doing this relentless podcast that never fucking ends. And you had better have bought all of Jackie's DVDs and my books and Kyle's album. That's all I have to say.
There you go. Get on it. Get on it.
Jeez.
We all agree.
Okay.
Yeah. So you just did 2 weeks on the road, though, is what you did,
Okay.
right?
Yeah. So I did Philly. I did Helium.
Wow. That's right.
It was fun. It was like
That's awesome.
It was the Team Coco tie-in, and so I got extra money for that.
Okay, but you got to headline, right?
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay, that's great.
And Alex Edelson featured.
Okay.
And that was hard every single night. I was like, all right, this guy's not going easy on me.
No.
But he's really funny, you know.
Is he local or?
No.
Who is he?
He lives here.
I probably have met him 100
Yeah,
times.
yeah.
Let me
Alex
meet him again.
Edelman. He does Edinburgh a lot. Like
Okay.
he's a young kid who has done Edinburgh many, many times.
Okay.
He just
But
went
he's
international
American,
really
not-
quick. Yeah, he's
okay.
American. Yeah.
All right.
You would know him if you saw him.
Sure.
Yes.
Sure.
This I'm blaming on jet lag and you're sick.
Well, and I don't know anybody else. I'm sure he's very funny.
No, you know him. I know you
All
know
right.
him. And a local comic named Rachel Fogletto. And
nice.
it was fun. It was really fun. It was they were pretty solid crowds
strong-
the entire weekend,
That's
right?
great.
Maybe the Thursday was a teeny bit light, but the rest of it was pretty good. It was nothing was ever sold out, but it's owned by the guy that owns a bunch of Heliums,
Right.
And
Mark
he has a ticketing company.
Yep.
So I'm like, oh, did I sell enough tickets to work his room and 9 other
worthy?
rooms? You know, it's
Exactly,
like
yeah.
there's so much going on. And then he came to the last show on Saturday and before the last show and said, I'm going to watch. I'm like, no, don't
Not
tell
before.
me now. Tell me after.
That I saw you and it was great.
Yeah.
How about that?
Yes, whatever. But I sold like 25 books. And,
That's great.
It was a really fun. It was a fun week.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So Thursday through Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
So that's 5 long sets. Getting
Yes.
ready for your album.
Yes.
Okay. And then what?
And
then what was the next one?
And then I had 4 days in New York.
Oh, that's right. So you're grinding it out there.
Yeah.
Nice.
That was interesting. So I had like 3 or 4 spots a night. I think
Nice.
maybe one night I had 4 and the rest I had 3.
Yeah.
And they were all like an hour apart. I wasn't super stressing out. One night I wore terrible shoes for going back and forth on the train.
Right.
I still have not solved my shoe problem. I need a pair of good looking boots that don't hurt after 3 hours. And
Oh, wow.
I don't know what to do. I don't want them to be Doc Martens. I don't want them to be stompers. I want them to look attractive.
Right.
You know?
What about that working girl thing?
What
Why don't you
working
just
girl thing?
where you carry another pair of shoes in a bag?
I don't want to carry shoes. I just want to walk. I don't have time.
You just
get
wanna
off
have
the stage,
shoes.
I'm supposed to take my shoes off at the comedy club and then get on a train.
And brush your teeth and I don't know. You're right. Yeah, you don't want to.
Whatever.
When it's snowing.
Snowy, okay.
you
okay.
you changed to different shoes? Yeah.
Yes.
So
but it's just there's
the
got to be
working.
one pair of boots out there that's
Sure.
comfortable for my fucking feet, which are huge and wide, and they have bunions. And where I can walk and they still look okay, stylish, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
But I haven't found them yet.
Right. And I only have that one solution.
So, so the
Yeah.
new stand is like
Outstanding.
primo. Yeah.
I can't wait till November to go.
Well, okay, so we're in the top room, which is a
Right.
glass box, and I did
Okay.
one set in there, and it's a little warm.
Oh.
So don't wear wear layers, and you can slowly strip as the night goes on.
Fantastic.
And then the downstairs room, especially when it's full, it just feels like Saturday. Every show feels like a Saturday night 8:00 show,
Oh, wow.
which is a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
And so it was nice to go to like the Broadway, which is like,
Just a basic.
very casual,
Yeah,
and
standard.
no one's, I don't feel like
Awesome.
anyone's watching. Like the stand, you feel like people are watching and comics are watching, or there's people in the industry in the audience. And the Broadway feels a little more off the beaten path. So it was
Right.
it was a nice balance of, all right, I can fuck around here and I'm going to just do stuff that's pretty tight right here at the stand.
Yeah.
And then I was on a show, and the act after me was Shane Gillis.
Ha.
So
SNL guy, right?
yes. So now, like, I didn't call for his firing or anything.
No. You
but
don't have anything to do with it.
I did have a few snarky tweets about his apology statement.
Oh, right,
that
right.
I
'Cause
felt-
isn't he? I'm more of a Mad TV guy than
No,
an
that
SNL.
was he.
That's how he ended his apology, which
that
was
pretty. That was kind of funny. I mean,
that wasn't funny. That was dumb.
Well, I
'Cause
don't know. At
Mad
the
TV
end,
isn't even
when you
around.
have all that
Anyway.
coming down on you, whatever.
Yeah, who
But-
cares?
Okay,
I don't. But
right, but I did feel when it's one thing to be snarkily tweeting your little pushing boundaries tweets.
oh right,
and then
alone.
you actually meet the person face to face, and then I'm like, oh, I'm a two-faced asshole right now.
Well,
I
did
felt-
he know that? You
No,
had
he
done
didn't.
It?
So then I apologized and said, hey, I'm sorry. I made a couple.
I piled on.
I was part of the pile on
Yeah.
a little bit, and they were just kind of jokey, but I apologize for whatever I contributed to.
Right.
Because he was nice. And, what his situation wouldn't happen to you and me because we haven't gone that far ever. but any comic can be caught in that kind of a vortex, and
Right.
have
the
shit rained upon them.
Right, and it's different levels of button pushing
Right,
and just
right.
riffing, and
Yes.
it's usually a younger comic too.
Yeah,
right,
right.
because
Yep.
it's just someone trying to get a reaction, and a lot of these guys are. And what is he? 10 years in? He's
I
a
think so.
baby.
Yeah.
He's just. I mean, no offense, Kyle, but because you're also not saying weird Chinese comments either on your podcast, which is called something about being rad. I've been on it. This is rad. I'm punchy.
My thing was I didn't want to feel uncomfortable and
Right.
like a liar or a bad person because I was speaking one way on Twitter and then saying
You had
"Hey,
said a
nice
thing."
to meet you,
Right. You had
Right.
said a thing, and now he was in your face, or he
Yes.
was alive in front of you.
Yes.
And so you were like, oh, I did a weird thing, so I'm just going to say.
Yes,
I
I don't always be wondering in the back of my head, oh my God, does he think or does he know, or it just gets in the way of just any kind of conversation.
Right.
you
It
can
takes
have.
up valuable brain space.
Yes,
Yeah.
and I don't have much brain space left.
Right. There's
only
you need all of it.
There's
You need all
only
of
6
it.
cells that work properly,
You
and
ever
they
rub
can't
two
be
of them together
occupied.
to speak? That's what I do.
So that happened, and then I went to Vermont.
Oh, that's right, because then you did Burlington.
Yeah,
Holy smokes!
dude,
I
this
haven't
is
seen
like
you in so long.
really awesome 10 days.
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
awesome.
That's so great.
And Burlington is such a fun. First of all, okay, so it's Carolyn Riley's emceeing, Annie Russell's featuring, and I'm headlining.
Nice.
And we were talking about this last night. Not once did any audience member come up and mention that it was all 3 female comics.
Right.
Congratulate themselves for showing up. No guy felt like he was a hero. All they came up and said was great show. We were like at various points in the bar, and we just heard, people were happy, compliments upon compliments. And
Right.
it was just like,
Everyone enjoyed the show.
yeah, and no one pointed out the dumb obvious,
Right. And nobody.
It was awesome.
Right. That is awesome. The one time and I think I've just told this story before, is just the only thing that happened one of the times when it was all women comics was someone thought that I had done a joke the feature had done.
Oh.
And I was like, no, that was the feature. This was happening to white guys all the time.
Yeah, I
because it was just three women.
Yeah.
And they got sort of those sets a little blurry.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm okay with that. So that didn't happen at all?
Not at all. And we were all different ages.
That's
we were
awesome.
all white.
Right.
But after that, we kind of each went our own way in
Right.
terms of energy and what we're worried about and priorities and stuff.
Cool.
I think Carolyn's like 24,
Right.
very funny, and Annie's like in her 30s, very funny, and then I'm me, and we're all at different places, and it was just really really fun, and just I don't
That's
know,
great.
it was very relaxing,
That's
and I felt like free to tinker with stuff. I
was
moved
the
chunks
weather?
around, and then I forgot. I'm like, fuck. I knew a chunk was missing, and then I started the callback to it, and I was like, whoa, shit. I got to see if I can circle back and start this thing over again.
Yeah.
The weather was great. Burlington's one of those towns where you think, oh, I would love to retire here. I could just live here. And then you're like, oh, it's as expensive as Los Angeles and New York. It's very pricey. The coffees are expensive. The breakfast is expensive.
Yeah.
I like $32 at the Skinny Pancake,
Oh,
and
right.
yeah, it was ridiculous. So
Yeah,
it's not.
it has that vibe that those college towns have.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, I want to sit around. I wish I went to. whenever I do one of those college towns, I always think, God, I wish I could sit around and talk about the big issues with somebody. And I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, I can. I'm a comic. I don't have anything to do. I can go to a coffee shop and discuss the big
and
issues.
then you can talk about it at night. Yeah.
Right. Then I could write some jokes about it if I wanted to. Crazy.
So then I came home, got home around 2:00 today, and I had a set at 7:00 in Santa Monica.
What?
Yeah, it was
Nice.
a last minute show, and at first I thought I couldn't do it. Then I realized I had gotten myself a flight at the ungodly hour of 8 a.m.
Oh my God.
on Sunday, and I said, yeah, I can do it, and I haven't seen my kid in 10 days, and I went to the set, and then I came home, and he was here, and just spent an hour with him, and now we're doing our podcast.
Here we are. That is bananas.
Mm-hmm.
So, I went to France,
Mm-hmm.
and I've been saving up to go to France for 1,000 years, and so we went to France, and it was amazing to go to France and to have no expectations to do any stand up. So I spent a week and a half, and then about 4 days ago, I got a flurry of DMs on Twitter from different comics going, hey, Will Durst had and the diagnosis from his feature was incorrect.
Okay.
He did not have a heart attack. He had a minor stroke.
in
Will
France.
Durst.
In France?
No, in San Francisco.
Oh,
But
I
his
thought he'd already
feature-
gone to France.
No, he was supposed to come to France to do this show
Right.
on, I believe, Friday night.
Right.
So, but his feature was in Saudi Arabia doing a set.
Who's his feature?
Some kind of Andy.
Okay.
And I think. But it doesn't matter because Andy contacted the booker and said, Will is in the hospital. Will is okay, by the way. Just so
Yeah.
everyone knows. Will Durst, San Francisco comic.
Yes.
Actually from Milwaukee.
Right.
And more so than myself. He's even more Christ-like in Wisconsin than me. He gets booked even less than I do.
Oh
in
my
Wisconsin.
God.
So
one of the first, just to go
Yeah.
off on a tangent
Sure.
for a sec, we'll come back, is one of the first Bay Area comedy experiences I had. Well, first I was on a date with Larry Bubbles Brown, which went absolutely nowhere. And he took me to his show at at the Tommy T's in San Leandro, and he was
were
featuring.
you doing stand-up at the time?
No. I'd
Okay.
done a couple open mics,
Okay.
And he was featuring, and Will Durst was headlining.
Okay.
And it was like a Wednesday, so it was like 15 people in the audience, right?
Bubbles. Seriously. This is his idea of a date. Come watch me do stand-up. Anyway.
Yes.
Yes.
That's my idea of a date now. Why do you think I'm single forever?
Right. Well, it's why you're not dating comics, because you got to bring somebody else to it.
Yeah.
So a non-comic. Anyway.
But Will Durst, so Larry's up on stage, and Will Durst is laying across 6 audience chairs,
right.
just like almost asleep. and he's next. And I was like, how is that possible? Because I would think of a set for, like, if I knew I had a set on Tuesday, I would be 7 days of just, oh my God, what am I going to do? How's it going to go? And I would go over it in my head over and over again. And to see a person stretched out across 6 chairs,
Right.
with their legs crossed, like looking in the sky, like they're in Nebraska,
it's
just looking up at the stars, and then to hear their name announced, and then he just kind of walks on stage and starts talking. I was like, how the fuck is that possible?
Yeah, there's so many ways to do stand-up. You can obsess about it, or you can just go up and do your jokes.
Well, he's very experienced at that point.
Right.
And I just couldn't fathom not being sick to my stomach.
Right.
And so relaxed. That was crazy to me.
That's I never met him until I moved out here, but I'd heard of him for 20 years.
Right.
Because
And so he doesn't work in Milwaukee?
No, he grew up in Milwaukee. The weird thing is the guys that all are from Wisconsin. I think Pete Lee works. Like, he used to do Skyline a bunch. And
Yeah.
I know he probably does Madison now on the regular, but I don't know that actually. But I think Pete Lee could do anything. He's from Janesville. Andy Smith from Janesville.
Mm-hmm.
She's got a kid she's civilizing out in the hinterlands of Kansas City. And then
She got kicked off Twitter for like a day or something.
yeah, I read that.
Yeah.
But it was just this last week too. And and then Jeff Cesario
Oh, right. Yeah.
and Tom Clark and Mary Mack and Tim Harmston.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure I'm forgetting somebody, but Cesario and Will Durst and myself, I'm a little bit younger than those guys.
Yeah, you are.
But
So
of an
Wisconsin
age.
doesn't work its own.
Yeah, weirdly enough.
What an
Weirdly
awful
enough.
state. I'm so glad you all left.
Right. I'm playing Madison, though, in December.
Oh.
Very excited, quite
Yeah.
honestly. Because it's
Madison on State?
Yeah.
Is that where you popped in to do a guest set when
Yeah.
Ron Funches was
Yeah.
headlining? And that led to that?
Yeah.
Yay!
You got to remind people that you exist.
Sure.
That's how it happened. So anyway, I get a DM from Dave Fulton,
Yeah.
comic who I know from Minneapolis, but he lives in London. And he goes...
Lives in London?
Yeah.
Oh, yes. I remember. Does he still have really long hair? Or did he cut it?
It might be shoulder length now, but he used to have really long
Yeah.
hair. Yeah. And he was like, hey, Will Smith is sick. You're
Will
in
Durst.
Paris. Will Durst. Yeah. Will Smith. Will Durst is sick. You're in Paris right now, right? And I was like, yeah. And then Emo Phillips DM'd me and said, are you in Paris? Because I just got an email from the booker asking if I could come. And I was like,
Where's
think
Emo?
Jackie, he's here.
So the guy was going to fly Emo out? Or asking if you could come?
No, I think to fly Emo out.
Wow.
But I don't know what. Here's where it all sort of fell apart because I was like, because what happened is Rich Hall of Sniglets fame.
Yes.
He now wears a hat and has a guitar, and
What?
but he's always been super silly.
I need to take guitar lessons. You know,
Well-
we got to extend our careers.
Well, he lives in London,
Right.
and so both of those guys recommend, like Dave and Emo recommend me. And
Nice.
so, but the guy doesn't know me.
Right.
And so he's like, well, here's what I'm thinking is that Rich Hall headline and you'll feature. And I was like, whatever happens. I was like, do I want to do a set? I have no plan in my head of doing a set.
Right.
But it's hard to turn down a set that's offered, right?
I know.
And then, so I did. And then he meets me and he doesn't tell
booker.
me. Right, the booker.
Yeah.
He meets me at the Army Museum. And because we're at the Army Museum, because I want to see the sort of the French history of World War I and World War II.
Oh, yeah.
And the 1871, so essentially the French Army from 1871.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's a great, and Napoleon's tomb, hilarious Napoleon's tomb. He wasn't everybody always says how short Napoleon was.
Right.
He was probably 5'8".
Yeah.
But even if he would have been 6'6", this tomb was overcompensating. This tomb was the size of a building. It
Oh
was
my
completely
God.
banana land. Anyway, so but he comes and he's like the booker, nice guy, and probably 72, 73 years old, had been doing it since he'd moved to Paris in 66. He was British.
So he was also a comic?
No,
Okay.
I don't know what I I literally got to talk to him like for 15 minutes on the Thursday. And then he was super nervous about Rich showing up. And then I got a text from him where he sent me money. And I was like, okay, it's been great meeting you. But but he didn't tell me what the show was. So the show is, on the Thursday, we're sitting there having a couple, he meets me at the Army Museum. And he says, okay, I figure you'll do like 30 or 35. And I was like, okay, that seems fine.
Sure.
And so I get up. He introduces me. Yes, I just no.
Very cold.
Yeah,
right.
Well, no credits and no. He didn't ask me how I wanted to be introduced. Or anything.
They don't do credits over there.
That's right. They don't. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. That. I found it weird, but the whole thing was slightly surreal because I had not been. Because they also do intermissions. It's like Australia.
Yeah.
And so I did 33, 49 because I recorded it.
Right.
And I get off stage and he's like, would you do an encore?
What?
And I was like, what?
Well, you always save your best stuff.
Right. I was like, I even went to the vault and did the tantric sex bit, which I've posted on Instagram so that I would stop doing it. Anyway. And
you're doing to yourself?
Yeah, that's what
you're
I'm
backing yourself in a corner.
Yeah, right. Fix the closer. Fix the new closer patient. Is so I was like, I thought he needed me to extend. Like that Rich wasn't ready. Yeah. And so I was like, oh yeah. So I got up and I did another 10 minutes, 10 to 15.
And so the audience is into it?
Yeah, they're into it.
Great.
They were psyched. They were it was more of a theater experience.
Okay.
I took pictures and I took a little video. I was going to post it. But yeah, it was more, and the audience was older, like people that he had known from Paris, and they were all expats.
Okay.
But some of them were 60s and 70s as well. And then there were some younger folk. And then and it was a surreal experience. And then because we had seen 2 or 3 museums that day, we hadn't eaten. And so I said, well, how long is, because then there was an intermission.
Right.
So I said, how long is the intermission? He goes, about a half an hour. And I said, how long is Rich Hall going to do? He said, about an hour and 15. And I said, well, we'll be right back. We're just going to go grab a bite. Well, it turns out there's no grabbing a bite in Paris.
Right.
We missed his set. So I'm sure Rich Hall was very funny.
So you didn't have to come back though, right?
No.
Okay.
No, there was no reason. I mean, we did come back and I didn't say anything to Rich Hall because I thought, he didn't say anything to me when I got off stage.
Sure. Right.
What am I going to say? I'm sorry I didn't watch your set. That's a weird thing to say, isn't it?
No, you say, they loved you.
They did.
Yeah.
They did love.
Where's the lie?
Yeah, there's no lie. I'm sure they loved him. But yeah. So I mean the whole thing, the fact that it came to be was kind of fascinating. But the pay was weird because I'm always curious, right? Because Rich Hall comes into town. He lives in London. It's not that expensive for him to get there.
Yeah.
But you got to put him up.
Yeah.
But I don't know that the guy booking was putting him up, and I don't know what the money was. I think because he hadn't seen me and he did no research online, he didn't know that I was because I was like, is it normal did you need me to stretch to do the encore? And he goes, no, they really, really liked you. So I wanted you to do another 10 minutes. And I was like, they did? Because they really did, but they were quiet.
Right.
It was, and
so he knows his gig and
he knows his
well.
audience and what it was like. And so I think he was pleasantly surprised that I didn't suck.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I don't think Emo and Dave, they both want to work for you. Why would they? The whole thing was very distracting and very weird. And
did it ruin
nice.
your day knowing you had a set that night? If you look
did
at how
affect,
it felt,
it affected the day for sure.
Yeah,
because it was we ended up doing 2 or 3 museums a day.
Mm-hmm.
And
Wow.
it was we went to Lyon, where we got to see a lot of awesome Roman ruins and this basilica, and we had lovely meals. And then we rented a car and we went to the cave paintings in the middle of nowhere.
Oh my God.
And which was essentially the Wisconsin Dells of France. It was like old sack. There were kites and fudge, but it was a French version of that. It was nougat and weird catapults. And but there was like a Roman ruins, but there was also like these beautiful gorges, like Yosemite-ish kind of thing, where local French people came to go kayaking and canoeing. And it was gorgeous. We found a Michelin star restaurant to go to in the middle of this area, where it was one of the most amazing meals I've ever had in my life.
Oh, really?
It was for our anniversary. And then we drove to. We went to this medieval town one day, a medieval town that had a castle, and in 95 they found some ruins, and nobody. This castle had been there since the Middle Ages, but had never been of any value. Like the king didn't care. The only thing, it was €3 to get into it, and it was literally might have been 7. I don't know, but it was like, no, let's turn this into a tourist thing. We got, and then they found these Roman ruins, and so they're like, we're a tourist town now. Watch us be one, and it was fascinating, but. The cave paintings were amazing, and then so we drove.
You how close were you able to get to them?
Well, what it was is we weren't anywhere near them.
Okay.
There was caves, and then about probably a mile from them, they had created these reproductions.
Oh, I see. Okay,
and the reproductions were exact,
right?
But they were just sort of like when you go to see a museum and you see the dinosaur bones. They're not really the dinosaur bones. They don't want you and your grubby breath all over real dinosaur bones. So they're made out of plastic, or they're made out of something.
Really?
Yeah. Plaster.
Oh,
It's
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Like if you go to
Museum of Natural History in New York.
Yeah.
That's fucking fake.
Yeah.
I want my money back.
Sometimes it's incomplete skeletons too, so parts of it are.
Yeah.
And then
I want my money. Well, and here's the crazy thing.
Yeah.
The coolest thing they had at the cave paintings, France had woolly rhinos. We had woolly mammoths, and we had saber-toothed tigers. They didn't have saber-toothed tigers. They had cave lions.
Wow.
And they had cave bears. But they had a woolly rhinoceros, which was hilarious.
Oh my God.
A pretty cool looking thing. And that was fucking amazing. And then we drove like 6 hours to Paris. I drove in Paris. It was a lot like driving in New York, but dumber.
Yeah.
And then
do they drive on the same?
Yeah.
Is everything the same?
Yeah,
Okay.
everything's on the right hand side. And then we got rid of the car. Thank you, baby Jesus. And then we spent the rest of the week going to 1,000. We went to so many museums.
Did you? Because you went to the Louvre, right?
We went to the Louvre. We spent 6 hours at the Louvre.
Wow. Did you? There was a carnival. Did you
Yes.
see the carnival?
Yeah.
That's where my son and I went every single night in France. Was that carnival?
Was that carnival? That's because he has a child.
Yes.
We walked through that carnival, and I was like, I wish they were setting it up. And I was like, I would like to go on the tilt-a-whirl.
Oh,
And,
the whole thing. They were great. Did you see that ball that bounces up in the air?
No.
Oh my God. Amazing.
It was so well. What we did do was we went to the Eiffel Tower and the Arc de Triomphe. Here's the thing about the Arc de Triomphe: stairs.
I did not climb up it. I didn't know that.
300 stairs, 16 floors.
Wow.
That's banana land. This
I don't
doesn't
remember it being
accelerate.
that tall.
This doesn't go upstairs.
Yeah.
I turned around at like 100 steps, and I said to Andy, I feel like I've been taken advantage of. And he's like, I'm so sorry. I did not know. And I was like, and then we found out that there is an elevator, but it is for the handicapped and the elderly and for tiny children, none of which I am. So, but it was, but we went to the Picasso Museum, and we went to a Vietnamese restaurant. I was telling Kyle on the way over here that when you go to another country, especially a large Western country, find out who they colonized and then go to those restaurants because
Sure.
those people have come to that country.
Yeah.
And so we went to a Vietnamese restaurant in the Latin Quarter called Bonjour Vietnam.
Bonjour, Vietnam. Oh my
Bonjour,
God.
Vietnam.
That's great. That's great.
And then last night we went to a Moroccan restaurant, sort of more toward the club.
Last night in Paris. You were
night
in Paris last night.
I was in Paris this morning eating a fucking chocolate croissant.
I was in Vermont this morning.
That's right.
This is a weird day.
This is a very weird day. So, we're at 30 or something.
We're at 30. Let's take that break.
Let's take that break.
Okay.
Hi, this is Rachel McElroy,
Hello, this is Griffin McElroy.
and this is wonderful.
It's a podcast that we do as we are married. And how's the ad going so far? Because I think it's going very good.
We talk about things we like every week on Wednesdays.
One time Rachel talked about pumpernickel bread. It was so tight. You cannot afford to miss her talking about this sweet brown bread.
We also talk about music and poems and, weather.
There was one time Rachel talked about Baby Beluga, this song, for like 14 minutes, and it just really blew my hair back.
So check us out on MaximumFun.org.
It's a cool podcast with chill vibes. Amber is the color of our energy, is what all the iTunes reviews say.
They will now.
And then let's talk about Comic of the Week.
Oh, Comic of the Week is Australian Alice Fraser.
That's right, Alice Fraser, which is at alliterative, right?
Yes.
And it's spelled A-L alliterative.
Yeah.
You guys got it. I believe in you. I believe in all of you.
Yes.
It's in the end. There you go.
No, she's very, very funny. She's done a ton of late night sets in Australia, and she's got a lot of videos to watch. And she's
I watched
just a
one of
really
them. It was great
joke writer and funny.
Yeah, real
and-
solid. It was a solid set.
Just like a bam, 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 bam.
Right. I was
Yeah.
like, oh, look at her doing some stand up. Good for her.
And she has a podcast that I did at Podfest a couple years ago called Tea with Alice. That was a
Tea
lot
with
of fun.
Alice.
Yeah.
Nice. I feel like I've met her. I just
I think you
can't
have.
remember.
Yeah.
And
You're
I'm-
incapacitated right now.
I'm a little punchy. So
Yeah.
this week on Thursday, I have to go to a wedding in
Where?
Texas.
What?
Yeah, Andy is officiating his stepbrother's wedding in the middle of nowhere in Texas.
Oh
We're
my
not even
God.
taking Delta. We're taking like American or some fucking
Oh, can I tell you my Delta story?
thing. Sure.
So I flew Delta to Philly, and I went out the day before, and was going to get in at 10 o'clock at night.
Awesome.
And
love
we
that.
left from Burbank late.
Yep.
And we went to Atlanta. What a disaster of an airport.
Atlanta?
Yes. There's no moving sidewalks anywhere.
Okay.
Okay.
So it's all just a hall.
So I get out on, let's say, E, and and it's late, and I have a very tight connection now. I had 2 hours before, and I'm carrying books. Like I was like, let me just try to save $25, right?
Right,
So
and not check.
so I didn't check everything in. I got one free checked bag from Delta
Yeah.
because I used my Sky Miles card, but then I had to carry one, and it was so. And I was like, when I booked it, I'm like,
You're already full of rage.
I was angry,
Yeah,
but I
yeah.
booked it. I was like, I'll have 2 hours. You know what? I can take 10 steps and then calm down and just rest, whatever. And so now I got to run with a bag, and it's a duffel bag. It's not a roller or anything.
Crying out loud.
And
Lori.
so I was online and I was checking which, when I logged onto Delta site, I think they said I should go to D4, and I was like, we were getting out at E6 or whatever. So
Different terminal.
I was mapping it out, but they're right next to each other. It's like a hairpin turn.
Okay.
So, and then there was a gate agent when I got out, but he was surrounded by people. So I was like, just go.
Right.
And so I got as quickly as I could to D, and then I get there and they're like, oh, it's in B4. And now there's no way I'm going to get to it. So they put me on a later flight. And then I got in so late, and then I had radio the next morning.
Oh my God.
And I was so fucking tired that my first day in Philly, which was a nice fat Thursday, it
Yeah.
should have been relaxing. I
Yeah,
just
yeah.
was like wiped out, completely wiped out.
Oh, completely.
Yeah.
That's a blow. That blows.
And then it took took a little while to catch back up.
Yeah. And then you have to. Then it's going to take a day and a half to catch up.
Yeah, and then the week's over.
Right. Then you have to
It
go
sucks.
somewhere else.
Like I didn't see any. I walked around Philly a little bit,
But you didn't get to see like Constitution Hall.
I didn't see anything. And I was a little stressed out because of the shows. There's a lot of pressure on the shows, so I just wanted to rest. I listened to all my sets. I just sat in my bed in my hotel room and listened to sets and made notes and stuff like that, and did my little dumb yoga workouts or whatever.
Yeah.
But
I brought this roller, this those noodles, the foam roller. I bought a travel roller, and it's only this big, and it becomes flat.
yeah,
And I was like, we're gonna see if this has any value.
right.
It has a great deal of value. I do have to figure out how to do more with it than just my back and my shoulders.
Yeah.
Because I think you're when you fly so much,
Yeah.
it's mostly the psoas and the hips that on me anyway, they get jacked.
Right.
So I got to figure out a way to get some exercises going on with that. But the flat roller that packs flat in my backpack and is only, it weighs as much as a laptop, and I don't bring a laptop.
Yeah.
Is great.
It was hard to find a pool in Philly.
Yeah.
Everyone wants you to be friends with someone who already belongs to the Y or the Salvation Army and Drexel University and Penn. Like I kept calling. And so finally I found a pool in Jersey. And so I took a train, and that turned out to be an odyssey. That was Friday. It was like an hour out, then an hour swimming, and then an hour back. And I was exhausted. And I'm like, this can't be. I've got 2 shows tonight.
Right.
I've got to follow a feature that's fucking murdering. I can't be tired. So then the next day I did like regular yoga very close by.
Yeah.
Not Bikram, so I wasn't so wiped out.
Oh, good.
Then in Burlington, I went to this place called Queen City Bikram Yoga.
Okay.
And it was as expensive as in New York City.
Oh, wow.
Like my friend Cheryl came to Vermont.
Oh, okay.
So
To
we
hang?
had so much, we had so much fun.
That's cool.
And she was saying, and this is so true, like you spend so much money on the road just trying to keep some sense of normalcy.
Yeah.
And so like Bikram, okay, it was $15 there on a lift. Then it's $28 for the workout. And then it's $15 back. That's like a fucking
$60 a day.
Yes.
And you haven't even eaten.
Right. Yes. I haven't
'cause
even
you're
gotten to the
starving.
skinny pancake yet.
Right.
But it makes me feel okay and better. And then the next day I went to the Y, which is walking distance from the hotel, and they have a really nice
Just lap pool kind of thing,
really
or?
nice pool. There's hardly anyone in it, and five lanes and stuff like that. And it was only $12.
That's cool. So, the only other thing, and I sent you a screenshot of this, is I've grabbed a cup. I grabbed the tantric sex bit,
Right.
and I asked Carmen Morales, who has been helping me out with captioning. She captioned it, and then I posted it on the IGTV because if it's over a minute,
Yeah.
it's got to go on IGTV, Instagram TV.
Okay.
It has 114,000 hits on
That
it.
is crazy.
Right. And I've got 1,000 new followers.
Do you?
So it's not a million.
Yeah.
But it feels
That's significant.
significant.
So do you? How can you monetize that? Like, does the end? I watched it.
I think it was
else.
No, I put 2. Actually, the one with 114,000 was the spooky reading
That's
girl
what I
and
just watched on
imaginary
the plane,
friend.
yeah. Like, do you direct them to your site at the end, or is that
No,
so they just
literally
watch it and you just hope people?
in the description.
Yeah.
I essentially in the description of the spooky reading girl and imaginary friend. I mentioned what albums those 2 jokes were on.
Yeah.
And where the video itself was from, and that my website had those albums and whatever.
Yeah.
And then the other one was the tantric sex bit, and that one has 75,000 hits on it. So it's completely.
That's amazing.
It seems really I think it's really helpful.
Yeah.
And I haven't really gotten any bad comments.
Yeah.
You know how YouTube is such a freaking nightmare.
Yes. Right. Right.
Everyone on IGTV,
Instagram's a little more positive.
yeah, they're just
upbeat.
like thumbs up.
Yeah. Yeah.
A 3-minute joke that I enjoyed is literally, I was like, yeah, that's all I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Yeah,
really.
I don't need you to tell me that you don't like my shirt.
Yeah. Right.
Or
right.
whatever the hell you want to get into.
Yeah.
But so I want to keep posting that stuff, and I liked posting the tantric sex bit because now I have to work on, because I'm closing now with the gender thing, which is funny because you ever do a joke and you forget the middle of it, and then you're like, maybe it doesn't need the middle of it, and then you're like, fuck that. It needs the middle of it for me. And I want there to be more punchlines.
Right.
And so, but the other night in Paris, when I did the thing, I forgot the middle of it. And, here's the good news. My Germany joke worked in Paris, which is always fun.
Yeah.
It's good news for the Germans, really. Went to the Resistance Museum. And so Andy went to the catacombs.
Right.
And right across the street is the Resistance Museum. And so I went to we both went to the Resistance Museum, which was essentially the history of, and we walked down into a bunker.
I got to go there without my child. I mean, I missed so much.
Right. So I think the first day we went to so many museums.
Yeah, right.
That I can't even. We did not go to the Ordway. We went to. We got to see the water lilies, but the rest of the small museum. What? And then we went to the Picasso Museum by accident. We went to a museum of chocolate. That was it was the history of chocolate, and you got chocolate.
Hey,
and then. But it was also hilariously, because chocolate isn't from France.
it's from Belgium, right?
No. It was.
Where?
It's grown in the Americas,
Oh, okay.
in South America and Central America.
I mean, it hadn't been invented till
Yeah.
white people came to South America.
Right. The King of Spain kept it a secret.
Wow.
Yeah, for not as long as the Chinese kept silk a secret, which is another thing I learned in the
Whoa.
last 2 weeks. 3,000 years, the Chinese emperors kept silk a secret until some whitey magoo snuck a couple of worms out.
Marco Polo?
Possibly. And but the chocolate thing, the king kept it a secret. He was like, it's too good. Nobody else can have it. And then everybody had it. And then we got to see essentially the history of flatware, the history of tea sets and cocoa cups, and the making of chocolate and all this stuff. But it was over by Moulin Rouge, so we went to the Moulin Rouge just to see the outside of it,
Right.
because I don't care.
Did you see Notre Dame at all?
We that's what we might have done the first day, is we took a boat trip up the Seine, where we got to see everything. We did not go to Notre Dame, but because it was under scaffolding
Sure.
and stuff. But we went to the Eiffel Tower. We went to the top of the Eiffel Tower. I don't enjoy heights, so we went. Yeah.
Well, okay. So there's lots of bridges crossing the Seine.
Yeah.
So at night, my son and I we're crossing bridges, and there's lights coming up. There's lights on the bottom of the bridges.
Yeah.
And it's coming up through these little cutouts in the bridge.
Yeah.
And each cutout had a huge spider web and a spider in the center.
Oh my God.
And they were just swinging, in the wind a little bit. Every single cutout, there'd be 100 little
Spooky.
cutouts. Very spooky. I just wondered if you guys saw that.
We ended up walking you know how they say you're supposed to walk 10,000?
Yeah,
Amy
10,000
Anderson-
steps a day.
Amy Anderson put that thing on my phone.
Yeah.
That it now counts.
Right.
And so 3 or 4 days we did 16,000.
That's great,
steps.
isn't it?
But sure. and then the other ones we mostly did 9 or 10,000 steps. And then 2 days I had to lie down. There was a couple. There was I gotta lie down. I don't know if you know this. I don't really
Too many steps.
Too many steps. And but the Louvre was amazing. We went to the Rodin Museum.
Yeah.
And the Rodin Museum is all gardens, and the weather was amazing.
Wow.
And so his Rodin's The Thinker is out in this garden. I was like, just out in the weather? And Andy just looks at me and he's like, yeah, it's bronze. That's what statues do. They're out in the weather. And then the original was inside. That he had made a cast, a small cast in bronze, an original thing in plaster. Whatever. I saw a lot of art. I'm full of art, is what I'm telling you.
Right.
And I couldn't do. And then yesterday there was a big modern art, just tents set up because it was Oktoberfest of art.
Yeah.
And I was over art. I can't do any more. But you want to take another break?
I want to pass out.
Hello, this is Amy Mann,
And I'm Ted Leo.
and we have a podcast called The Art of Process.
We've been lucky enough over the past year to talk to some of our friends and acquaintances from across the creative spectrum to find out how they actually work.
And so I have to write material that makes sense and makes people laugh. I also have to think about what I'm saying to people.
If I kick your ass, I'll make you famous.
The fight to get LGBTQ representation in the show.
We weirdly don't know as many musicians as you would expect.
I really just became a political speechwriter by accident, realizing that I have accidentally pulled my pants down.
Listen and subscribe at MaximumFun.org or wherever you get your podcast.
It's like if the guinea pig was complicit in helping the scientist.
Are we back? How
Sure.
much? What are we at? Okay, we're
15
plowing
minutes.
through this as like dutiful little Catholic girls.
Right, we're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Less punchy than I was expecting.
Oh yeah.
Really?
Well, it's just sort of, it's soothing. It's probably a lot like, I don't know, hearing the rain.
I have.
Anyone out there?
I have
Is this thing on?
2 to 3 new jokes that are
Really?
just little shorties that fit
Nice.
into things, right?
You're tagging stuff.
Yeah. And then there was one bit that has just collapsed. And I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And I might just put it down and let it go.
Right.
And maybe it's not for me right now.
Right. Maybe it goes on the next album. But
Yeah. Or maybe I take a couple days off and I go fuck it on the Friday Late Show and see what happens.
yeah.
Right?
What do you have this week?
I
You
have
have sets?
I have
In town?
2 tomorrow night, 1 on Tuesday. No, 2 tomorrow night for sure.
Monday?
The Improv and Flappers.
Nice.
And then I don't know if anything on Tuesday I put in for something. And then Wednesday through Saturday I'm at the
You're up.
Punchline. So I have 6 shows at the Punchline.
That's right, because it's happening this week.
Yeah. Please come if you're
Everyone.
there. These things are as tight as they're going to be. And then they go away. Well, they don't go away, but I will slowly start making them go away.
Right. They will.
But there's this other bit that's up and down, and I realized, and I was talking about this with the other comics this week too, like I have to smile on dark jokes or they don't get a laugh. And I fucking forget. And I get into like a character and people are terrified or there's no, like, I have to guide them with a happy face down this road we're going. And if I don't do that, it doesn't work as well. And a lot of times I'm like, what's happening with this joke? I don't get it. And then I realize because I'm so stressed out about it, I'm not smiling when I'm telling the joke or I'm not enjoying myself.
Right.
And then it's a downward spiral of
right. You're not wearing a hat or anything, so they don't know that it's
have
a
my
character.
guitar.
Right.
Yeah. So I was like, I videotaped a lot of sets too, and something connected on Thursday, Friday, Saturday at Thursday and the 2 Friday shows at Vermont. And I think it was like I was smiling because I was done with the hard stuff, and I just got to chill. And I just got to remember to not stress out when I start certain chunks.
Right. Yeah, I have yet to listen to that set in Paris because I wrote the set list, but I was like, what a weird. I mean, they were cold. I went up. I opened. I was like, so you're all expats.
Mm-hmm.
The only riffing line that I got a laugh from was that because there was so much smoking.
Yeah.
That I was just happy to be the recipient of secondhand smoking again.
Yeah.
I was just because I was catching up on it, and it just reminded me of my childhood so much. So
they're they smoke a lot.
Yeah, very little vaping. I only saw 2 vapors.
Oh, well, it's bad for you, Jackie.
Vaping?
Yeah,
as opposed to roll your owns.
Yeah,
yeah, interesting. In cafes. Oh, and the place that it was in.
Yeah,
in Paris, the club itself looked like it had a New York vibe, but it also had a 6th Street, Austin, Texas vibe, where it was a lot of Ute, and they were super drunk, and I wanted to not be anywhere near them because it was just crazy.
Sure.
A lot of bicycles, a lot of scooters
and
abandoned.
Also, if they're yelling at you in French, you don't know what they're saying.
My French is okay. I can comprehend pretty good.
Yeah.
And by the end of it, it was better because out in the middle of nowhere.
They speak so quickly, though.
Right. That I learned. I was also telling Kyle that when we were walking down the Champs-Elysees, I bought some chestnuts, and then I was peeling the chestnuts, and 2 guys came and started circling me. One of them asking me a question, the other one, and Andy was peeling his chestnuts over by the garbage can, watching these 2 guys circle me.
Oh my God.
And the one guy was like, "Do you know where this, and I was like, no, I get to look at me. I'm not from here. And they were kind of like, can I get in her, does she have a wallet? You know, I mean, it was.
You think they were trying to confuse you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I know they were trying to confuse me, but I was attainable goal, by the way. Such an easy.
I'm confused right now.
I'm super confused, but I'm looking forward to, like, I'm going to DC. Like, I start again in earnest. Like this week, I start doing. I mean, like this week, I don't have any sets. I would like some sets.
Sure.
Tomorrow's Monday. I'm here until Thursday, so Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I get back on Sunday. And
wait, Thursday through Sunday, you're going to someplace in the middle of Texas?
Yeah.
Wow, that's
By
a
the way,
lot of
got
time
an email
to give
from
to
somebody who said, you know, there's a comedy in San Angelo, Texas.
Oh,
and
do
I
it.
was like, oh,
Will Durst is booked.
Right. Well, maybe
pick
up that gig. Maybe he'll come in. Maybe it'll be Cesario. I could pick up his sets. Yeah, I don't. Yeah. So, but next week I'm in DC just for, I believe I'm doing 1 or 2 nights with Maria, and that should be fun. I also have a bit of a cold.
I know.
So I might just be sleeping until Wednesday.
You know what?
It's a great story, you guys.
I think you could take a little time off and sleep.
Right.
You've been actively traveling. You haven't been chilling in a hotel room. You've been hitting museums. You've been learning shit. You know, that's a lot of work.
It was a lot of work. I have to say that I love going place. I love it when Andy comes because I am a classic comic where I will sit in that hotel room and then I will go find a cafe.
Yeah.
And then I'll come back to that hotel room.
That you just described heaven to me.
Right?
Yeah.
What do we
just go to a cafe?
Kyle? How are we doing?
Right.
51.
Oh my
9
God.
more
I thought we were further.
We all did.
We all did. What else have I written? Oh, did you see? Okay. So everybody wants to write about the history of stand-up comedy.
Oh my goodness.
Do you remember that?
There's comedy is shockingly popular right now. And I'm not
Wayne
sure if it's
Fetterman
gonna go
has
away.
a podcast
about
the history of comedy.
He does?
But I think he starts with Lenny Bruce.
Okay.
And goes forward. And I don't know.
So much.
What?
You missed so much.
Well, the early days of, I mean, where would you start it? Mark Twain? What am I?
Kinda.
That's what people, I think, some people think it starts, that Cliff guy with a K?
K-L-I-P-H. Yeah, Nestor Hoff.
Yeah, he wrote the history of men
Male
doing
comics,
stand-up comedy. 600 pages, but really pretty good. I skimmed it.
You did?
Yeah.
That's something I don't want to get too acquainted with.
I'm fine.
Yeah.
And it's weird but then another guy asked me if I knew this guy. He wants to do a show. I'm going to spell his name wrong.
Yeah. You spelled it right, kind of.
Sort of, phonetically. I can't spell. But he was like, "Hey, what do you know about the history of comics?" And I don't know any women, and I was like, "Yeah, they were there." And
he knows women. He knows women.
No, he knows women, but he doesn't like. I'm sort of. I can't
You're
be
a
the
bridge
oldest
to another generation,
right? I can't be the oldest. He's got to know. Like Elaine Boozler started back in the 70s, right?
Yeah.
And
was she bumped, or did she at that set at Gotham, or was she pushed back? Because usually when Seinfeld drops in, they just push you back a little bit, or Gaffigan, or whatever.
Oh, I don't know.
She was complaining about it on. She mentioned
Twitter?
it on Twitter, but I guess she was bumped, or she just would have said,
"Oh, that she got pushed."
Yeah. Usually they don't do that,
right? Except for if somebody runs long. But
Seinfeld
doesn't run long.
No,
he usually does. I mean, he might do 15 or 20.
Yeah,
which might make the show long.
Push
but it wouldn't
the second show back. But who cares? Because Seinfeld.
Because everybody was excited because Seinfeld was there.
Do you feel like? I don't know.
Yes.
There's a couple where there's a great interest in stand-up comedy, right? So, and there's some people that seem to go to comedy in an angry, like, sort of in a bad mood, and they almost know too much about comedy, and they're and a little bit. It's almost like I do distinctly remember seeing a front row of incels at a show and having them just they weren't like excited for the next comic. It just felt like they were intensely watching comedy, but it didn't necessarily make them laugh. Like they almost intellectually would discuss it later on Reddit.
I've never seen them at clubs. I've only seen them online.
I think they're coming to clubs now, which is disturbing.
But I have seen some arms folded. We always.
Yeah.
Everybody always sees, 220 people enjoying themselves. But I'm going to look at the one guy who's like, I got beer at home. Why am I here?
True.
And, so, but yeah, I haven't.
But now that it's just become so popular, it's bringing in new people to clubs, Yeah. People that may have not even gone out before. Like, it's not like we're getting people that would be going to music or going to Hooters, or you know what I mean? It's people that would normally just be staying home, but now they're comedy fans because it's been shoved in their faces on Netflix, and now they're going to go out to a club and order waters intensely and watch the show.
I think there's two different groups that you're talking about, because there is a really cool group that the Dork Forest has inspired a lot of people who never saw stand-up.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're like, I've heard about this stand-up. I'm going to go see Jackie. And then
that's cool.
There's hundreds of those people that I freaking love, because they get every weird reference and joke that I want to trot out. And then there's the ones I meet online are weirdly like they know things about stand-up comedy, or they have like 6 comics that they believe are like the second coming,
right?
And then that's it.
They're all variations. They're all variations.
I think Kyle has a list in his head
of Jim Jeffries, right?
Right. It's those guys who are, I don't know what they're doing. I know that they're not performing for me. They genuinely are.
Oh, those comics?
Yeah, those comics.
Okay.
They're not writing their stand-up to get this out.
Mm-hmm.
This is not their demographic, the Jackie Cations of the world.
Right.
But there's 14 to 24-year-old dude bros, haircuts on parade, who fucking want to hear you talk about bitches, man. And it's fine.
Yeah, I wouldn't even notice the material that they're. It's more like they identify with someone that looks like them. Sometimes it's not. It wouldn't necessarily.
There's a lot of very good-looking
material
young men with dental. Have you noticed that? There's like the whole new generation of people with good dental. That's been happening for about 20 years.
Yeah, comics should not have good teeth till they're in their 30s. Like, you should have to work to afford good teeth. Well, that really makes you, that seasons you as a performer. I have a
theory about why all the new normal and good-looking comics are funny, because there's plenty of really good-looking comics who are genuinely funny.
Yes.
And I think it's because of when we were junking them up when they were kids. You know, we're giving them Adderall and Prozac and stuff. And then they turn like 18 or 19. They start drinking, doing weed. They start mixing their meds with their cocktails, and they actually drive themselves mad. And that insanity brings some pretty good stand-up. And then they have to heal themselves, and
that's special.
And then 7 years later, they're pretty like sane people. Like they've become more sane, and they've also
when they become sober early, like John Mulaney?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Like that kind of thing, where you're just like, and like, it's happening so much with a lot of women, right?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Like, there's just
they get fucked. They go through the first 20 years of life in 5 years. Like the 20 years of adulthood that most comics went through in their 90s, they condense it into 5 years. And then they're 26 and attractive, and they're 1 year sober.
Right.
That's a good career path.
That's a real nice career path. And what it was is you get a cocktail of like, you know, ecstasy and weed and drugs and or alcohol, and then you're still taking the Prozac and stuff from when you were a kid. And because when I started, or when we started, I would posit that everyone who did stand-up was either super unattractive or completely bananas.
Right.
Like either nuts or had been hurt in some other way.
Yeah.
And was coping in other ways.
Yeah.
And
but definitely not sober.
And definitely not sane.
Right.
You know, and it was
not fixed at all.
Right. Broken.
And perhaps would never be fixed.
Well, the thing is for myself, I would say that stand-up comedy genuinely saved my life.
Same here.
Yeah. Because it gave me an outlet, and it gave me a way to process the things that had happened to me, the things that could happen to me, and an opportunity to make more things happen. Carmen Morales' pinned tweet is that stand-up comics are poor people who get to live like rich people. Which is essentially, you know.
But these other motherfuckers had their lives saved first, and then they got into comedy, which I don't understand. Why? If you're
oh my God.
MaximumFun.org.
Comedy and culture.
Artist owned.
Audience supported.